Me personally, I'd say both. Metroid, like many long-running Nintendo franchises, has been graced by both 2D and 3D entries. That said, the design philosophy that gets them such high praise differs more than you might think. 2D and 3D Metroid share the same name, but they might appeal to you for different reasons. What are those reasons? Well, they differ in many ways, from gameplay pacing, storytelling, atmosphere, among other nuances, and I'm here to break those reasons down and answer your question, which kind of Metroid game should you play? I'll be discussing mainline Metroid and the numbered Prime games plus Hunters, so no Federation Force or Pinball. And yeah, there's that one game that tried to combine 2D and 3D, but yeah, we don't talk about that one. For anyone looking to get into Metroid, now is the time, with Prime 4 releasing this year, and I hope this video helps out. And for fellow longtime fans, I hope this video helps you appreciate the Metroid series even more. Before we look at 2D and 3D Metroids' differences, let's quickly discuss what they have in common. Every Metroid game is an action-adventure which follows the same gameplay loop. You're thrown into a world full of branching paths, though your options for exploration are initially limited. You also only start off with a couple of abilities at your disposal, though gradually acquire more, making you stronger and also opening up the aforementioned limited paths of exploration. That said, while there's definitely an encouraged order to follow, these games do give you the option to use your smarts to access areas and acquire abilities earlier than you should. This is a famous technique known as sequence breaking, and it grants you some wild options like trivializing bosses because you picked up an ability much earlier than you should have. These same abilities also appear in both kinds of games, so there's definitely overlap. You also fight against multiple bosses, which typically challenge you to use the most recently acquired ability, until you make your way to the final boss, where you get to use multiple abilities acquired throughout the game. Furthermore, on abilities, you mainly traverse each game through platforming, which again starts off basic, then requires using more abilities as you go along. These games all share an incredible feeling of progression, starting off feeling like a noob in an uncharted world, to then becoming that world's master. Now on to differences, let's start with 3D Metroid. The first difference in 2D and 3D Metroid lies in their gameplay. 3D Metroid, which are essentially the Prime games, take a slower, more grandiose approach to exploration and pace of gameplay. You'll literally be walking through a majority of the world, which may sound dull, though in this case it works incredibly as it encourages you to take in each game's rich, beautifully crafted environments. And I can't stress this enough, these games look gorgeous. This also extends to combat, where you'll be moving at the same pace as an exploration, with you using a strafe ability at the fastest. This is the typical combat loop, though some bosses do of course require faster movement, like with Samus's signature morph ball rolling around a boss's weak point. Speaking of which, the Prime games do also throw in these cool morph ball sequences that pay homage to its 2D counterparts, along with the iconic, overpowered screw attack in Metroid Prime 2 Echoes to change up the pace with faster movement. One ability in particular, the Spider Ball, makes you crawl up and down walls with these cool camera angles to give you a literal unique perspective. So yeah, overall gameplay is slower, but by no means slow, and is still a ton of fun. The next big component to discuss is storytelling, which Metroid games aren't really known for, but damn, 3D Metroid's approach is phenomenal. The Prime games encourage you to use Samus's visor to scan the world around you. Everything from enemies, mechanisms to activate doors, and all things lore, and this is these games' primary method of storytelling. As I mentioned before, 3D Metroid prioritizes taking in the world around you, and scanning is a testament to this design philosophy. In order to get the most out of the Prime games' story, you need to methodically scan every bit of the world. And if this sounds like a chore rather than fun for you, well hey, not to worry. Scanning is optional, so if you just want to prioritize gameplay, you can scan the bare minimum and be totally fine. The depth of these stories is equal to the amount of effort you put into uncovering it, and I love that sense of freedom. Now the next thing to discuss is my personal favorite component about 3D Metroid, the key element that always brings me back for a Prime game replay, the atmosphere. 3D Metroid is all about immersion. This is less tangible than gameplay or storytelling, but the previously discussed elements, combined with the rich world design, great UI, and gorgeous music, all naturally gel together, creating a seamless experience that puts you into the shoes of Samus Aran. As you play, you'll feel this deeply rooted chill down your spine that only immersive games of this level can create. It's a big reason I also love games like Arkham Asylum and Alan Wake 2, and if you've played those games, you'll know what I'm talking about. 3D Metroid is also complemented by these games' lower difficulty. The hardest game out of the bunch is Prime 2, which has its moments of being challenging, but it's honestly not that bad, so these games overall offer a more chill experience. Alright, last thing about 3D Metroid. You've heard me praise these games and might be thinking of giving them a shot. So which game should you start with? 3D Metroid is pretty easy to get into in terms of lack of experience with the series. Game accessibility though, yeah, that's a tad bit harder. The Prime Trilogy Collection released for the Wii, which then re-released for the Wii U. Prime 2 and Prime 3 are individually locked to the GameCube and Wii respectively. Hunters is now unfortunately locked to the DS with the Wii U Virtual Shop closed. And then there's of course Metroid Prime, which released for GameCube, then a bunch of future consoles, and got an outstanding remaster for the Switch. If you want a 3D Metroid game to start playing, I strongly recommend Metroid Prime. It's in my opinion the best of the bunch and definitely the most accessible. I also recommend turning off the UI when you're ready for maximum immersion. It makes it even better. And that's the breakdown of 3D Metroid. Now on to its 2D siblings. So yeah, how does 2D Metroid compare? If the laid-back, immersive approach of 3D sounds appealing, let me tell you, you are not getting this here. In terms of gameplay pace, these couldn't differ more. The slower pace is gone. 2D Metroid will have you blazing and blasting your way through each world. Right off the bat, you'll feel how much faster you move. You're running and jumping at your weakest, and never-ending jumping at your strongest. Even something as common as wall jumping never feels dull. This is just so satisfying to do. While these worlds do look great, you're not here to take them in. You're here to demolish any creature in your way. Every ability acquired only increases this feeling until you effortlessly blitz through every single obstacle. I mean, just look at the Shine Spark ability. Look at it! Some Metroid games also require you to pull off some insane movement combos. Like there's a missile capacity upgrade here that I already picked up, but look at what you have to do to get here. It just looks and feels amazing. There's no scanning or anything that slows you down. Just fluid, killer gameplay. Now, we obviously can't discuss said killer gameplay without discussing the combat. Combat is so tight in these games, and it's so easy to get into the groove that you'll simultaneously be fighting and moving so smoothly before you even know it. Especially once you get more abilities, you feel so flashy. And this is hands down at its best in Metroid Dread. Oh my god! Gameplay in Dread is buttery smooth. Everything I just praised about 2D Metroid, amplify that tenfold in Dread. Dread developer Mercury Steam has been killing it with the last two titles. They previously worked on the Castlevania reboots, which is just perfect for this, and they implemented mechanics from those games here beautifully. Most notably in Samus Returns and Dread, they brought in a melee counter and cinematic camera for boss fights. And damn, they elevate the intensity of every fight so much. Even the bosses in Dread alone are outstanding. Thank you, thank you, thank you for giving us a boss rush mode. If Mercury Steam keeps up their quality for future titles, 2D Metroid is in great hands. Anyhow, I've glazed the gameplay enough, let's look at the storytelling. Honestly, it's alright. The storytelling is more standard, being spoon-fed to you, and mostly delivered during each game's intro with maybe a cutscene or two sprinkled in later on. Newer 2D Metroids add way more though, and they're a nice change of pace, especially that one cutscene with Quiet Robe and Dread. To be fair though, these intros can be pretty cool. They tell you everything you need to know within minutes, and because of how much faster these games play, that's likely intentional. It's also a cool detail that these are delivered through Samus's POV, shedding a bit of light on her personality. The easy standout of these intros though, no competition, is Super Metroid. It recounts the events of Metroids 1 and 2 in a noticeably darker tone than ever before, flawlessly setting up the game's tone. Then combining the tone and gameplay, we have an amazing sequence early on which takes you back to the destroyed base where you fought Mother Brain in Metroid 1, teaching you some mechanics along the way, so it also serves as a hidden tutorial. And yeah, I mentioned tone, so I gotta talk about this. As I alluded to, Super Metroid is again fantastic here. The intro alone is so chilling when you factor in Samus's silhouette, the music, black and white visuals. It's just unforgettable. Then there's the entire game, which has this lingering, eerie tone, just teetering the line towards horror territory. Dread also leaned into it a bit with the Emmys, and oh, did I say horror? Okay, Metroid Fusion is a horror game. It's not, but the main villain, the SAX, is genuinely the scariest thing in the entire Metroid series. All in all, 2D Metroid also has incredible atmospheres, just for different reasons from 3D. If 2D Metroid is more your speed and you're wondering which to start with, well, thankfully you're in luck, because these are much more accessible to play than 3D. Most of them are on the Switch, with just Metroids 2 and its remake Samus Returns being locked to their respective consoles. Difficulty-wise, I'd say 2D Metroid is more challenging, but not too bad. Dread is the hardest of the bunch. I know fans of the Prime games who gave Dread a shot, and it messed them up. Though they also get a hang of the difficulty, so you'll be fine. And I know I praised the gameplay a ton, but the older 2D games have admittedly aged poorly. OG Metroid is fun, but a bit janky, and because it's an NES game, it's also cryptic as hell. Play it for a bit, but don't expect to finish it without a guide. Factoring all of this, I recommend starting with either Metroid Zero Mission, the GBA remake of the original, Super Metroid for its unmatched atmosphere and gameplay which has honestly held up very well, and even as recent as Metroid Dread for having overall the cleanest gameplay. So that was a lot on 2D and 3D Metroid. To sum up, both kinds of Metroid games excel for different reasons. If you're looking for a chill, immersive experience where gameplay isn't too hard and you consume as much narrative as you choose, 3D Metroid is definitely more of your pace. If action-packed, tight minute-to-minute combat and fluid movement is your speed, 2D Metroid is more up your alley. But if you still want to know more about 3D Metroid without committing time to play them, check out this story recap I made on the Prime saga. It'll fill you in just in time if you intend to give Prime 4 a shot. And hey, if they both appeal to you, sick, the more the merrier. They're different, but that increases the appeal of both games. If 3D Metroid is a pop-up exhibit that can be interacted with by the whole family, 2D Metroid is the thrill ride craved by thrill seekers. Also, if there's anything else about these games you enjoyed that I didn't mention, please leave a comment below. I would love to hear about it. Anyhow, that's all I've got for this one. I've been Bilal with Game Rant, Prime 4 couldn't come any sooner, and we'll see you in the next one.